Copper golems are great for item sorters. However, there are a few issues that need to be fixed, and I've seen some solutions on YouTube, but they are very complicated, so I've come up with something relatively simple that sorts items at double hopper speed. For an item sorter, the obvious solution would be to use this design, which is a classic, and locks this hopper until this chest is sufficiently full so that you can put in here the items that you want to sort. However, golems transport items by packs of 16, and it takes them 3 seconds to put items into a chest, which means they put items into chests at about 5 items per second. And hoppers only transport them at a rate of 2.5 items per second. So if you have golems here putting items into the chest, and if you have a lot of items of the same type coming in, that chest will fill up over time, and this signal will get too strong and unlock the hoppers on adjacent chests, which will break the system entirely. The solution I've come up with is to use 2 hoppers to transfer items at 5 items per second. The hard part is to lock this hopper, which I've done through this system. It's a bit bulky, it's not compact, but I've not been able to come up with something more compact, and at least this one works. I've tested it a lot and it doesn't break, even though golems are supposed to transfer items at 16 items every 3 seconds, while hoppers only do 15. Turns out because golems take a fraction of a second to move from one block to the next, it just works anyway.
If you jammed it, I'd wager you were setting out to do so.
One detail to be careful about is repeater delay. You need 3 ticks delay here and 1 tick delay here. The reason is we need to unlock this hopper before we unlock this one to flush out the items that get stuck every time it activates so that they don't accumulate. That way you get 1 item stuck here and 1, I believe, stuck here. But it doesn't accumulate, so the next time it activates, it will be flushed out before new items come in. I've also added 2 sideway hoppers here and here for overflow protection. That way, if those chests and hoppers become full, the items will be transferred to the next line to overflow into the other chest. And if you follow along, you can have chests at the end of the line for overflow to protect the system, because if that chest becomes full and cannot empty, it will break the system. Here is what one of those modules look like, with 9 slices for sorting items. Items come in here through the copper chest, and the items that do not get sorted go here to go into the next module. The overflow lines here and here can be pointed the other way to have the chest for overflow here, as you prefer. One issue that remains with this system is dealing with unstackable items, because when an unstackable item comes in, it will increase the output too much, and it will also activate the next chest so that it will break the system. And because we are taking items 2 at a time with the hoppers, you cannot use this system for unstackable items. To deal with unstackable items, you can use this system, which modifies the red monster design using a lectern to calibrate so that you can put a lot of items in here. The issue is that it comes out a bit weird here. The hoppers are complicated to integrate in a sorting system, and also you cannot have stackable items in here. You can take the same principle and make it linear with this so that it integrates better with one of those modules, but the same problems apply. A better solution I have come up with so that it integrates easier with those modules is this one, where we do something very similar, and we have only 1 hopper for output here, but we can put stackable items in this. One thing to note is that the items that you put here must be, if there are any, a stackable item, and there should be less than a stack here, so that it cannot take out those items in case of an overflow. This is still resilient to overflow because this doesn't connect with the rest of the system, and you can even have 2 next to each other, but you cannot have 3. Again, we have a book here for calibration. However, it is single hopper speed, which means that if there are stackable items coming in here, that chest can become full, which will not break the system, but there will be an overflow going into the rest of the system. So that if you put too much of, let's say, lapis in here, you will end up with some lapis going to the end of your system. But that doesn't break the system. So don't put dirt in there, put something that you don't expect to put a large quantity of items. A slice of that system. One thing to note is that this comparator needs to be in subtract mode, and this book should be on whatever page is appropriate to receive the right signal so that this chest can fill up while still locking the system. One thing to note when using this system is that since we are dealing with double hopper speed, you should make sure that there is no bottleneck in your system. For example, when transporting items, you can either use 2 hoppers in parallel, or you can use dropper elevators with this design. So comparator goes into piston, goes into observer clock, goes into droppers. I have also come up with a system that fills up a shulker box here and delivers a new one. So basically, when you come up here and you want to take a shulker box, you don't have to place one down and fill it up. You can just take the shulker box, press that button, and a new one is dispensed. And also, this pushes out this lantern so that you can see which ones are waiting for a reload of that shulker box. And it powers this wasted line, which will send a hopper minecart along those rails and unlock this hopper. And once an item goes through this hopper, a shulker box, it will reset the system. Here's an example of a sorting system you could build using this system. Here I have 5 modules, so that's 45 chests, but you can have more or less depending on your needs. I have put an input here which goes into the system. The first chest is for shulker boxes, which are sent into this double speed shulker box unloader, goes back into the system, and the shulker boxes are sent here. They also serve to supply this hopper minecart for the shulker loading system. And the chests for unstackable items, I've put them this way, but you can do whatever you want with it. The only rule is that you can't have 3 in a row because of this subtraction here. Other than that, you can do whatever you want. I have put a glass floor here, so you can have a system underneath, for example, a trading hall, or if you really want to stay in the theme of an Amazon warehouse, you can have the employee bathroom with a bunch of copper golems running around. Do whatever you want. You can have something with glass to give the impression of a bottomless pit. I've tried that, it's pretty fun. Do whatever you want with it. I'm sure it can be made more compact, but so far I'm pretty proud of that one. I will try to put a world download in the description so that you can check it out yourself. That's all, bye bye!